Carmen here again, managing digital editor at Ms., and I'm very excited about this illustrious panel that we have gathered today. This is Kevin, Kristen, and Stewart. Yes? Okay, perfect. Stewart and Kristen were the prosecutors on the Bill Cosby case, and Kevin was the elected DA who was overseeing the case. And so thank you all so much for being here at the conference and being here with me.
And Kevin prosecuted alongside us.
Oh, that too. There we go. I'm like, the mechanisms of the legal system are not quite my specialty, but yeah. All right. So, you know, I think I'm sure the conversation that you all were having in your session was about the idea that the Cosby case had this very particular moment in the post-Me Too sort of landscape that we're seeing. And so how do you hope that the reverberations from this case, you know, shape what's yet to come? And also, how do you think the sea change of Me Too really impacted the way that this case played out?
So our job in this case was focused on the survivor in the case and focused on the facts of what happened. Now, as we step back and see this in a larger view of the impact that it has had on others, it's been pretty extraordinary for all of us. Our job was to do justice in the case. We got there, we got that done, but it's been pretty extraordinary to see where this has gone, and we hope and we pray that by treating people with respect and dignity, with being able to pursue things that are hard, that will have good reverberations down the line. For others, 2 daughters. We hope that they're going to grow up in different times than a lot of the folks that went through struggles in this case did.
And I would 100% agree with what DA Steele was saying. The other thing I think that this trial also highlighted was to show how sexual assault victims are treated when they take the stand. You know, these women that testified in both the first trial and the second trial underwent a serious amount of horrible, putrid character assassinations. And that's what, you know, we had a sexual assault expert who was able to help us to combat that character assassination. And then you saw how the jury actually made their decision, and they spoke and they said, you know what, these character assassinations don't define these women and they don't render them incredible. And so I think that this trial showed how brave sexual assault survivors are. I think it helps other people to come forward. It also informed our jury, which in part because of the media coverage, informed society as a whole about the dynamics of sexual violence.
Yeah, and I think what Kristen was touching on in particular was maybe the most important part about the case, which is that survivors are going to be believed. And that's oftentimes, in my experience, and I know my colleagues share this as a prosecutor and now as someone representing sexual assault survivors in the civil justice system, oftentimes the first question is, am I going to be believed? Am I going to be attacked, you know, by some lawyer that doesn't know me for things that aren't true? And what we saw in this case in particular with the closings of the defense in the second trial that were just completely outrageous and shameful, that ultimately the jury rejected them. And they said that's not going to work anymore. We're going to start with believing, and then you convince us otherwise.
Yeah, and you know, I've been talking to, just coincidentally, a lot of folks sort of working in the realm of prosecution and victim rights today and this morning. What do you hope that others working in your field might take away from the way that you all handled this case in terms of having a survivor-centered and a trauma-centered approach to the way that they handle these sorts of cases?
Well, I think one of the most important messages from this is that no one is above the law. And when we went through and the struggles that everybody worked through together in this case, standing side by side with survivors and experts in this field and educating the jurors in this, the court, we're in a better place now from where we were.
the one takeaway that I hope that people take away is not only what Kevin said, because I think it's really important for the public to see political officials willing to follow the evidence and make uninterested decisions and prosecute these high-profile people, despite who they are, but because the evidence leads to a decision for arrest. I think it's also important to show that in Montgomery County, at least, and I know in other sister or brother prosecutorial offices, victims of all crimes will be treated with humanity, with dignity, and respect. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the important things going sort of through our case from start to finish was the fact that we had advocates standing there with us the entire time. Not only were we from, practicing and learning over time as prosecutors trauma informed, but obviously the advocates were as well. And bring a certain approach to dealing with anybody, be it a survivor of crime or otherwise, when you have that background. It was really important, I think, to have advocates there with us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think on top of that idea of not being believed, which I think was definitely at play, and also that, Cosby was such a powerful person with this certain reputation and image that people didn't want to sort of touch or be involved with untangling. I think also we saw a lot of survivors chasing justice and then being blocked by things like a statute of limitations or, these sort of legal challenges that they were facing just because they were sort of falling through the cracks of these laws. What sort of policies do you think in the future might open up more avenues to justice for survivors?
So in Pennsylvania here, there's a couple of very important laws that are being looked at. One, Marcy's Law. And this November, the Pennsylvania electorate is going to get an opportunity to make victims' rights at a constitutional level. And we're really excited about this opportunity, advocating for it, and hope that the electorate agrees that victims' rights should be on par with the defendant's rights under our Constitution. The second aspect that we're working on and hope to continue to make inroads is statute of limitations and abolishing the statute of limitations. We were able to prosecute the defendant, Bill Cosby, in this case just under the statute of limitations when it dealt with a victim from Cheltenham or survivor. And one of the things that I hope is that others in the future will have an opportunity whenever they're ready to come forward to be able to get justice.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about statute of limitations reform, the criminal statute of limitations reform is extraordinarily important. But along with that, you're seeing it done in New Jersey. You just saw it open in New York with the Child Victim Act, which is changing the civil statute of limitations as well. One of the things that I saw in this case, and I've now seen it in my current practice, is that these sorts of cases with mass sexual assaults happening by one individual or more, but over and over and over again, don't happen without powerful people being aided along the way. And you see it here with Bill Cosby. You've seen it at different institutions, be they schools, churches, whatever the case may be. And power like that doesn't often respond unless you hit them where it hurts for them, which is in the pocketbook. And in order to shut that down, the statute of limitations needs to be reformed, not only to hold the individual perpetrator accountable, but also to hold the institutions that facilitate the crimes accountable to the civil justice system.
Totally. And how has this case impacted your own work, like the way that you all operate in the courtroom, in the work that you're doing with survivors across the spectrum? Like, just what have you all personally taken away as attorneys from handling this case?
So I think we send a strong and clear message that if someone is willing to come forward, our office will treat them with respect and dignity. And I think that message is so important. There is not a situation where we're going to be able to do something in every case, but knowing that that's how folks will be treated, I think goes a long way. And I think again with this, when you look at what was accomplished, the fact that we can say nobody's above the law. Throw as many attorneys at us as you want. Throw as much paper at us as you want. Call us names. Do whatever you will. But we're still going to get the justice. And that, I hope, is a powerful message that nobody gets to be above the law, at least in our county.
And I want to be clear, working with both these two individuals throughout my entire prosecutorial career, this is not something that we did only in this case. This is something that we lived through in our entire prosecutorial career. Even though other cases that we prosecuted were not necessarily in the limelight or followed by the media, we always treated our victims with respect, with dignity, with humanity. And these are victims of all kinds: homicides, elder abuse, children victims, child abuse, and sexual assault survivors. So I wanted to just stress that we learned. I'll speak for myself. I learned a lot from this case. I learned a lot in terms of progressing in my profession. But one thing that I was proud of myself and my colleagues, and we had a whole team, some of which are not here today, detectives, inclusive of advocates, and other attorneys from our office, is that we all went in following the evidence. We all went in treating people with respect and dignity. Even the defense attorneys, who were not always very kind to us, we still put on our white hats of justice, went into that courtroom and fought for justice, advocated for our position. And that's what we do as attorneys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to add other than, to echo what's been said, which is that the entire point was to do the right thing for the right reason from the very beginning. And so that we could all look at Andrea in the eye and the other Cosby survivors and see from them that they knew we did our best, and then we did our best for them.
Yeah, and I think, we've been exploring sort of going beyond the breakthrough at the conference and talking a lot about Me Too. And I do think, Me Too was this moment where more than anything, people came forward and told their stories, but they also were saying it's time for people to be held accountable, right? It's time for no one to be above the law, no one to get away with doing these heinous things. I mean, this is your profession, right? Is holding people accountable. What do you think the cultural power is of holding folks accountable in the legal system?
Well, our job is to do justice, and I think that comes in many different forms. But when you look at what we were able to accomplish in this case, and accomplish every day, and that's something that we live by and work through, that we are going to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And that's why we do this. That's why every day we ask each other, like, whose life did you make a difference in today? Because that's what this is about. And that's where we have an opportunity in this profession to do that. And they aren't always easy days, but they're rewarding.
I think the other cultural change is that when then DA Risa Furman, who's now a judge, and then first assistant, now current DA Kevin Steele, made the decision to arrest a very high-profile American international icon, I think it also sent a message to survivors, not only that if they come into Montgomery County or even any other prosecutorial office who has similar methods to Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, that they will be treated with humanity, dignity, and respect. But I think it also sent a message to other prosecutors that, you follow the evidence and you make that decision. Whether it results in arrest or not, you make the decision based on the evidence. If you have enough sufficient credible evidence to effectuate an arrest and you believe that you can reach a conviction, then it is your ethical obligation, regardless of who that defendant is, to go ahead and effectuate that arrest. And I think that message from, Risa Furman and Kevin Steele was powerful to other law enforcement. I know it was a powerful decision for me because even working alongside them, I knew they always operated within their ethics and always made the right decision. But their decisions were not necessarily highlighted in the international media. And for them to make that very uncomfortable and not so popular decision was very important for me as a prosecutor And I think for other prosecutors and other law enforcement officials and other defendants who are not being held accountable. And you now are seeing the cascading effect of the decision they made.
Yeah, and I think that last point really is such a good one because we've talked a lot about this case means that we're going to listen now, and people should know that we're going to listen, but it also means that people are looking. You see so many powerful people, powerful men largely, being held accountable because people are finally looking. It's not like this problem didn't exist and now it just exists. It's existed for history. The problem was people weren't looking, and now we're going to look, and we're going to hold people accountable, whether, again, individual institution, whatever the case may be. People are looking, and that's important.
If I could just add, I think that they were always looking. They were just looking and then intentionally changing their view. And and now people are looking and not intentionally changing their view.
And being willing to hear.
Yeah.
Looking and listening.
Oh my God. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to sit down with me today and for believing survivors, fighting for them, and helping push this case beyond the breakthrough. So thank you so, so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Oh no.
And I'm hitting the end button, and it's not working. And it's not ending. Yeah, we're stuck in
I have
the.
to start carry.
Yeah.
Then it'll shut down.
I'm like, what do I do?
Also, good luck. I know that the hearing already happened, but good luck with the appeal. You guys are waiting for my grandma and